Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker fan sports show.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, we're not added to the stage yet, are we? Welcome, everybody, to the Go Big Redcast, a very special HuskHer Huddle episode. With me, your host, Redcast Abbie. And if you don't know who our guest is, she's a former Husker, a former Woman of Troy. Is that what you would call it at USC? And a current Omaha Supernova volleyball player, our very favorite Allie Batenhorst is here. So thank you, Allie.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to get started.
I'm very excited for you. We heard at media reached out to us, and they have a partnership with the Omaha Supernova and asked, you do this podcast, it's a fan cast, you do a women's episode. Would you like to talk to some of our players? And it was like, of course we want to talk to you guys. We love you guys. We're really excited to get the season started. We're all little going through some volleyball withdrawals, I think. So it was a really nice kind of bridge to get into that. So, Allie, we know as Husker fans, we know who you are on the court. We know your stats. We know, that you were the 2020-2021 Gatorade National Player of the Year, the Gatorade Texas Player of the Year. You were on the AVCA Player of the Year watch list. You were a member of the all-region team this year. We know all your volleyball accomplishments. Well, not all of them, but we know of your volleyball accomplishments. One of the things that we really want to do on this show, one of my goals, is to help people get to know our athletes as people. So off the court. So we'll start with a little bit of tell us about yourself, Allie.
Well, it's kind of a broad question. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. I can come up with some stuff. So I grew up in Houston. I'm from Texas. I was actually born in Omaha, so I'm technically back home again. Obviously, I went to Nebraska for my undergrad, and I have a lot of family here. My entire family's from here. My dad grew up on a farm in Wisner, Nebraska, like an hour north of here. My mom's also from here, and just lots of history here. And I obviously, I'm trying to think what else would you. I'm 22. This is my rookie season as a Supernova. I just got drafted, and obviously got my undergrad at Nebraska, and then I got my master's, or I started my master's at USC, and I'm online this year. So I'm kind of able to, I won't finish my full master's until August, but since I'm online, I'm able to be here and not be in LA at the same time. So, but yeah, if there's any fun fact or any other information that I need to talk about, I don't know.
That's great. No, that's super great. Yeah, I always hate that question when you go anywhere and there's so tell me about yourself. And you're like, what do you want to know? But
yeah,
no, that was a great introduction. That was
awesome.
That was great. And we'll get into some of these other things, as I ask questions, if there's other tangents, whatever, if you want to go off of and tell us more, that's great. That's what we're here for. Okay, so you mentioned, obviously, we know you started your collegiate volleyball career at Nebraska. Can you tell us, for those of us who have absolutely no clue what it's like, what is it like to get recruited to play volleyball at a school like Nebraska?
I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was amazing. I think they were actually my first offer. So I remember John Cook came to my 14 national. It was a 14 national region or championship. And I remember he came up to my dad or something, and then I ended up calling him. And at that time, whenever I was getting recruited, college coaches were allowed to talk to you when you were really young. So I was getting recruited in 8th grade, and just to be having attention when I was 14 years old from all these top programs, and just having those conversations with such big names. And I don't even think I understood at the time how amazing Nebraska volleyball truly is. But I just remember feeling so flattered and excited to just be recruited by such obviously a really rich tradition program, and also to be recruited by the state and home that like my whole family's from, and just yeah, so it was really cool.
Did you grow up watching a lot of like I'll just say general collegiate volleyball? Did you watch a lot of Nebraska volleyball? Was there a team that you kind of rooted for growing up?
So I would say definitely Nebraska. I think just because my whole family's it's a Husker family, it's just tradition to watch Nebraska football, and that's kind of how I grew up. But yeah, actually, fun fact: I was named after a Nebraska volleyball player, and nobody knows that. I actually haven't told anyone that. Allison Weston, I think,
Yeah.
and Allie. So I don't know, but
Dustin.
yeah. So that was yeah. I guess the Huskers for sure. I wasn't like too invested yet because I didn't quite. I mean, I was pretty young, but then I got invested as I got recruited, and yeah.
Did you play other sports growing up or just volleyball?
I did. So I was determined to be in the WNBA whenever I was younger. I was like huge into basketball, absolutely loved it. And yeah, but then I picked up a volleyball and fell in love with that. I also did track through high school. I think so I played basketball for 8 years, picked up volleyball, started loving that. And then I realized that I love volleyball more than basketball. And I quit after 8th grade to just fully commit myself to volleyball. And then in the off season, I would train in track too.
Sure. Do you think that helped, that cross training, having played basketball and done track? Do you think that helped you in your kind of collegiate life?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Honestly, I think playing basketball made me very coordinated, I would say. I think because I'm so tall and just lanky, sometimes it's hard to just, move your body some ways just because you're taller than most people. So I think just the agility in that part of track and basketball, I think that really, really helped me in like footwork and just speed and quickness. Yeah, for sure.
So you had family here. So you probably had been up to Nebraska before. So this coming to Lincoln probably wasn't a huge culture shock for you out of Houston. Were you like, I mean, did people expect it, or were you just like, yeah, this is normal? I'm not.
No, I mean, honestly, it wasn't a culture shock. I think I'm trying to think. I lived in like the suburbs of Houston, so it wasn't too fast paced or anything, but obviously I visited Nebraska probably once a year, every year since I was little, just because I have so much family there. So Lincoln, I hadn't been to that much, but Omaha and like small town Wisner and Kearney, Nebraska, all those places are places that I've been to. But yeah, no, as far as culture shock, wasn't really that hard of a transition.
Was it bigger going from Lincoln to LA?
Absolutely. Very, very different lifestyle. Very different lifestyle. Yeah, traffic is insane in LA. You can't really if you're gonna drive anywhere, you gotta expect you're gonna be out or you're gonna be away from home for like at least 45 minutes to an hour.
Oof.
Yeah. So I scootered everywhere. I actually have my own scooter, and you went on campus and I scootered to practice every morning at 5:36 or no, not 5:30, 6:30. And yeah, just whole different lifestyle, so much culture there. There's a lot of amazing things, but yes, definitely culture shock, transitioning from cornfields to huge city life.
And then to come back to
Yeah.
not a big city, but medium-sized city.
Yeah, I miss the space and like being able to drive for 5 minutes to get Starbucks is pretty nice.
All right. Let me see. Let me go through here. So I'm going to assume, and you correct me, that getting recruited to Nebraska and then picking Nebraska, did that feel like a no-brainer at the time, or was there not necessarily some hesitation, but was there maybe I'll go someplace else? You talk about your decision to come to Nebraska.
Yeah. So initially I was like, I want to go somewhere different. I've visited Nebraska so many times, and I wanted to see what other schools are out there. I went on all these different visits, and my top two ended up being between Stanford and Nebraska. And yeah, I was a little bit, I was very into my studies in high school.
Love that.
Yeah. But once I got into the recruiting process, and my parents wouldn't let me commit till I was at least a sophomore or going into my sophomore year. I committed summer before my sophomore year. But yeah, I don't know. I had a feeling. I think I went on a couple USA trips, and I had a lot of girls that were committed to Stanford and committed to Nebraska. And a lot of the girls were committed to Nebraska, like 4 of the girls that I had gotten really close with at Dream Team Camp. And they were all like, you have to go here, all this stuff. And things just started to align. And there's something in my gut that was just telling me, okay, I think I need to go there. and it was so hard to like turn down like a Stanford degree too, obviously. But yeah, something in my heart was just pulling me to Nebraska, and I was just so excited when I finally told coach.
That's amazing. I joke with my boyfriend he's a sports writer all the time when kids commit to Stanford for sports, and I know a lot of people are just like, really, Stanford? It's like, yeah, but it's Stanford. I mean,
Yeah.
That's hard to turn down Stanford. So
Oh
look
yeah,
at you.
I was getting a lot of especially being in Houston, and I was in all these really like smart classes, and a lot of
Mhm.
people were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You don't understand. It's
Different.
Nebraska. It's amazing." Yeah. So
Well, we're glad you did, but yeah.
yeah.
So then I can remember, and my memory is real bad, so clearly this isn't the first memory anybody has of you playing.
Mhm.
But I can remember rewatching, it was that Texas regional, I think your freshman year with you
Yeah.
and Lindsay. It was on Lindsay's birthday. I remember that. And just such a statement game from you. That was, I think, the first time that everybody was like, oh, these freshmen are amazing.
Mhm.
Talk about what that first year was like leading up to that game. And I assume living in or being from Texas, you have feelings about playing
Yeah.
Texas. Like, you know what I mean? So talk about
Yeah.
that very first year that you had at Nebraska playing volleyball.
Well, yeah. So Texas was actually in my top 5 as well whenever I was getting recruited. But um, yeah, I think my freshman year, especially just coming out of high school, like my whole career, I've been so competitive, and I've just when it comes down to the big moments and you want to win and just make it as far as you can, that's kind of where I excel the most, I think. And in that game, I had so much family around me and so much support, and we were playing for our life in the tournament, and I was just so determined to be, and like our whole team was just so, we were ranked the 10th seed. So no one really thought we were going to go all the way. And I think we kind of like that underdog feeling. And Texas obviously always has the really big reputation, and they were supposed to beat us. And I don't know, I think the competitor side came out, and just being at home and having so much family, and all my high school friends were there to support me, and just club coaches, and I think it all just kind of came down to me wanting to compete and just show everyone what our team has. So
It's still one of my favorite games to go back and rewatch. And
same.
not just because we beat, like as a fan, not just because we beat Texas, but it was, I mean, again, like I remember watching that and at the time, like I said, like, wow, these are amazing freshmen. They're only freshmen. And watching now going, oh my God, they were only freshmen then. Did you
Yeah.
have any, even then, did it ever occur to you then that you could be playing professional volleyball?
Yeah, I think professional volleyball was always a goal of mine. I didn't really know exactly what that meant for me because I didn't know if going overseas was something that I want to do. So I guess it was always like in the back of my head, but it was never my sole goal in life was to play pro. And I think just the opportunities of being in the States and just having the opportunity to play in Nebraska and just in the States around family, that was just huge for me. And then I think as my career went on, I got more excited about playing pro for sure. But in that moment, I was just like, I want to win the natty so bad.
So
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. 3 points.
It's every year, every time.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sorry.
we'll talk about your transfer to USC in a little bit. We'll kind of do this a little linearly.
Literal.
Literally. I really can't talk today, so I'm going to stop trying to say that word.
All good.
So the next big thing that I have on my list, which impacted everybody in the state and probably all across the country, obviously, is volleyball day from two years ago now, it feels like. Talk about that. What was that like being a part of it, playing in that kind of environment, and then seeing the impact that it's had since?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that was probably one of the best days of my life and my career. And just, I think at the time, we didn't really understand the type of impact it was going to have on not only Nebraska, but like the country and women's sports. And um, I remember coach telling us at Lyft one day, he announced or told us like months before this was even happening. And he was like, we're going to play a game in the stadium. And we were all like, what? And just so confused. And we were all building up to it, and we were in season. So then we had like a few games, and then we were like, okay, it's game day in Memorial Stadium. And I think the tunnel walk and just the amount of people that showed up to support, and it's just something no one's ever done before. And that was everything. We were just like, wow, like everything, you're just taking it in. And it was so much more than just a volleyball game. And it just was unreal. Like walking through the tunnel and having just a tunnel walk and all the alumni around us, supporting us and running out to the court and hearing the music and just all the fans just surrounding the court. It's like elevated and just all like playing in front in like Friday Night Lights. It was just amazing. Like there's really no words to describe it. And I think it wasn't until afterwards that we were able to reflect and just realize what that truly meant for women's sports and how big of a deal it truly was. And it was just surreal. And just to be able to be a part of that and especially play in that match was just something I'm so grateful for.
When do you think it fully hit you? So I know you said afterwards when you had some time to reflect, but when do you think it fully hit you of like what just happened in that match?
So for a couple weeks after, we were just getting media constantly and people were just asking about it. And then all over social media, all of our posts and everything were blowing up and people were talking. It was just the most talked about thing that was happening. And we were constantly getting interviews from CNN, New York Times, like all these different huge broadcasting news companies. And yeah, I think it was just all the talk about it and the comments and the emails we were getting and the support and just reflecting and looking at the pictures. And, every moment of that day we had chills. Like everyone was just trying to take it in and just appreciate what we were being a part of at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know. It took a while to realize how like it was just incredible. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but yeah, it's hard to put into words. It really is.
No, you're doing a great job. It's hard for fans because I know when I watched it, it was like in the moment, you knew it was really cool. You could tell there were a lot of people there. We saw the alumni there, all of that. And then I think it was like when they actually announced the number for me, I saw that. And that was, I think, the moment where I was just like, oh, and just like,
Oh yeah,
I
I'm getting
cried. I was
chills
like,
right
this
now.
is the most amazing thing that and I didn't get to go because I live in Missouri. So I didn't get to, but I watched it. And every time I watch it, I just get you just get goosebumps at the like that many people came and supported, and this is where the sport is now. And it's I still like it's my favorite. It's probably my favorite memory too, and I think it'll last forever for me.
Oh yeah, like I still get chills. Even you talking about it, I'm getting chills. And I think that game for me, especially, I think that really drew me to continue to kind of work towards advocating for women's sports and just being a part of that growth. And that's something that I just really want to continue to be a part of. And I think just being in a part of that match and seeing that match happen, all that support, and just to see how much growth women's volleyball has had, how much growth female athletes have just kind of got to experience. I don't know, it really made me more driven to continue to be a part of that growth. So
I love that. I mean, because we talk about like the impact it has on, or we have talked about the impact that it had in the moment and on, up and coming volleyball players and fans. But one of the things we don't really think about, or maybe at the time didn't think about, is like what the really long-term effects are. So like the little girls who watched it, or even what I hadn't considered is how that like directly impacted you guys who played in it, and like what that would inspire you to continue to do. So I think that's great. I love that.
Yeah, bigger than a sport. Yeah.
So kind of related, if that's one of your favorite memories, what are some of your other favorite collegiate volleyball memories?
Sorry, my voice is kind of cracked. I mean, there's a lot. I think the biggest thing I would take away just from being in college sports is just the people that I've gotten to meet. And obviously, I feel like especially being a part of Nebraska volleyball, I've played in front of the biggest stages you could possibly play in front of for volleyball. And obviously, I would say the Volleyball Day in Nebraska and the national championships. And I think just my junior year, like this past year, where we had Volleyball Day and just where we had the national championship and we were in that, and we were breaking records left and right for attendance and viewership, and just everything just kind of exploded that year. I think that was really special to be a part of. And I think there's so many random games that, like the Texas game and the national championship and other different games that we've been a part of that have just been special too. So it's kind of hard for me to narrow down. But I mean, yeah, I would say volleyball day in Nebraska was just the top for sure.
That's fair. It would be hard. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a mean question of like, what's your favorite game you've ever played in? But so I think I mentioned it on here, and if not, then I said it to Rob before the show started. You are quite possibly our most beloved transfer player who has ever left this, who's left Nebraska and is so universally loved by fans. Which is kind of on my weird segue into getting into your senior year where you played at USC. We, from everything we heard, and kind of like you told me earlier, it was a pretty smooth transition for you.
Yeah.
But can you talk about like, how do you make that decision, and then how do you decide to go to USC, and what does recruiting out of high school differ from recruiting out of the portal? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Yeah, so I think overall my decision just came down to I absolutely love Nebraska volleyball, and like that program has given me so much, and I love the people that were there, and that's why it was such a smooth transition, is they are so supportive and they were so loving, and obviously the fans are so loving too. So but it came down to exactly what I thought would be best for my future. I think a part of me has always been drawn to LA. I talked to Jalen my freshman year. We were playing beach, and I just always talked about how I want to get my master's in LA. I want to go to UCLA or USC. And I just kind of always been driven to just go to LA and be a part of that and potentially play beach. And there's a lot of opportunities there outside of volleyball that I wanted to be a part of as well. And obviously, like I said earlier, I'm super into my academics, and I feel like having a degree from SC was something that I really wanted to do. They're the number one communications school in the country. So, and that was something. I'm studying digital media management right now. So, yeah, obviously getting my master's degree. And I think as far as volleyball goes, I really wanted to play 6 rotations, and I wanted to kind of have more of an impact on, not that I didn't have an impact at Nebraska, but I kind of wanted to be more of an impact player, meaning playing all the way around. And just, I was a captain at USC, and I got to kind of grow in a different way than I did at Nebraska, but I also grew so much at Nebraska as well. Just volleyball wise, skill wise, I wanted to be able to play back row as well and be a leader. And, so those were some of the things that I thought about. And I think being able to play all the way around at SC has allowed me to translate or transition smoother into the professional world, just because they don't necessarily have as many subs, and you need to be able to play all the way around and be able to pass. And that's something I really wanted to continue to excel at. And that wasn't necessarily my role at Nebraska as well. So, yeah, I think it just came down to what was best for me. And I was a little tentative to do it. Because I know, transferring kind of just, there's a stigma around it where it's like you don't like the program or whatever. And that was just not the case for me. I was so grateful and happy. And I didn't want people to think that I didn't love the program. So I chose to be very vulnerable about it on social media. And I created like a going away video, and it kind of got like 500,000 views, and everyone was so supportive. And I was really nervous about that because I didn't know how people were going to react, or if people, and it was nothing but love from everyone. And I think just being vulnerable on social media allowed me to have more support, and like everyone was able to kind of hear my story and just feel as though like fans were more involved in what was going on. And I think that kind of created that, I don't know, whenever I came back, it allowed everyone to just be so supportive and loving. And I think there was just some sort of bond that I kind of created through social media that just allowed everything to just transition smoothly. And I just felt so supportive regardless of what happened. And yeah, as far as the recruiting goes, it was basically the same. I mean, your phone just blowing up. I felt like I was in high school again. And yeah, I think ultimately for me, I wanted to go to a top volleyball program, but it was more about my future. And I'm very invested in social media and digital media and broadcasting and stuff like that. So LA is kind of the spot for it. And that's kind of, like I said, I wanted to do beach. I was supposed to do beach I'm on my soapbox right now,
No,
but
you're fine.
I was supposed to do beach this season, but I purposely did online just in case I wanted to go pro right away.
Mhm.
So, and there's still a chance that, I might go pursue that sometime soon, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it set me up really well. And I think I'm feeling very confident with volleyball now, and I just love it. And yeah, I think the whole decision was great for me. So,
Well, I can tell you from a fan perspective, from my perspective, when it was announced that you were transferring, there was, at least within, like I said, our fan group, this collective, like, what, why, what? Like it was legitimately like the most like terrifying transfer. You know what I mean? And maybe you've experienced this. It's like your favorite is you're leaving. What? Why is she leaving? It was like, it was so sad. It was so very sad because we were just like, but we love Abbie. But and I think you're right. Like your vulnerability and your willingness to say, like, I'm doing this and here are my reasons why. And again, I think the transition that you had from Nebraska to USC, that kind of time that went in, the fact that you were still so close with all your teammates. And I think you're right that made it, let me find the best way to say this. You've seen, you're on social media, how people can respond to transfers. Like you said, there was that concern. And so I think you telling your story, you're absolutely right. It just like nipped all of those like rumors, stories, anything just in the butt. They were just like, nope, here's the reason. There was nothing like sinister. There was nothing, oh, she doesn't like it. We've got problems, whatever. And so as a fan, I really appreciated that because then it was then when I watched you play at USC, it was like, oh, look, she's getting to do what she wants. Like, this is what she wanted. She wanted to play 6 rotations. She gets to do that. And it just made it so much easier to root for you. Not that we wouldn't root for you, but you know what? It was easier than to watch you and just be like, that's our Allie. Oh,
yeah.
Like, it really did. And so I, like, as a fan, want to thank you for that. And I know that it's not easy. I mean, I'm nobody on social media and it's hard for me to be vulnerable and open. I cannot imagine what it's like for somebody with the kind of following and the notoriety that you have. And we've seen that, right? From Harper and from other athletes, not just at Nebraska, be open and vulnerable about it and how sometimes that comes back and kind of bites you because people are cruel. But a lot of times it really does. It opens people's eyes, I think, to like the reality, and it makes you more than just like a puppet that we watch and for our entertainment. Which is my little soapbox. I'm sorry about that.
No.
I want to thank you for that. I remember watching your story about that and just went, okay, that's okay. I'm really happy for you, Allie.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much support and so many fans, and I knew that, and I knew it was going to be a little bit of like a heartbreak, not only for myself and the team, but all of Husker Nation and just the support. And I feel like people deserved to know just because of how much support I've had over the 3 years I was at Nebraska. So yeah, that's ultimately, why I decided to do that. But yeah, I appreciate that.
And it worked out well for you. You guys had a great season. It was one of my favorite things is getting to watch volleyball all season long. And then they would, when USC would play, it was like, oh, I have a reason to watch them now. And you guys had a great season. And
it was fun. A lot of growth. Yeah, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So
you've talked, you just said that, playing and getting to play all 6 rotations, you think kind of prepped you for life in pro volleyball. But what else do you think you learned from the different style of play that USC had compared to Nebraska?
So we ran a much faster offense. It was a completely different. So Nebraska kind of runs like a more structured, consistent offense. And I think it's a little less flexible and it's a little bit more consistent, like I said. So at USC, we were very flexible and adaptable to different scenarios. And we were kind of being tricky and risky with a lot of our plays. And, obviously sometimes it didn't work out. And that's kind of what you're sacrificing with being a little bit less disciplined. But we were disciplined in our own way, and we were more risky and quick, and our tempo was just really fast. And I think professional volleyball, especially overseas and just in general, they run really fast offense, and the game's just getting faster and faster. And I think that prepared me well with just kind of speeding up my arm swing, speeding up my game, being quicker on defense. And I think just overall, it really helped just having both sides, both training as well.
Ah, awesome. Well, good. Kind of backtrack just a little bit. Since we talked about you being on social media and telling your story, we've seen in the last couple of years this huge rise of female athletes in particular being on TikTok, Instagram, different social media things, and really taking advantage of it to tell their stories, for NIL, for all of that. I'm trying to think of like how not to lead this question. A, have you noticed that? And B, why do you think that is? Like, do you have any thoughts or insight as to why there's been kind of this surge in female athletes in particular on TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely have noticed that. I think it also goes with how the media is starting to pay attention to women's volleyball, and women are starting to get the platform to play on national television and play in front of, or you can find them on TV a lot easier, and games are just being given more opportunity for people to find it. And I think also with NIL starting, I think people started to recognize that social media was your way to capitalize on it. And I remember my freshman year, we had a meeting immediately once NIL was announced, and they were like, this is what you need to do. You need to post all the time. You need to start doing this. And they kind of gave us strategies and kind of touched on it a little bit. And I remember I hated TikTok. I never even touched TikTok. Like Kennedy Orr and Lexi Rodriguez, they were my roommates at the time, and they would always make TikToks in the dorms. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. And now I'm making a TikTok every single day for years now. So it's grown a lot. I think a lot of it has to do with NIL. A lot of it has to do with women being given the platform to just show their skills and capability on TVs and social media, and Big Ten media is blowing up. And yeah, I think women are able to kind of show their skills, and given the opportunity, they're able to capitalize on it. And I think being able to also use TikTok and Instagram and social media and stuff like that to show your personality, and also be posted about, and your awards are given, and all these things that are just kind of giving attention to female athletes. I think it just has continued to grow, and female athletes are finally kind of taking advantage of that. So I don't know.
Do you wish you would have gotten in on one of John Cook's TikToks this year?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I saw all of them. I was commenting on a few of them, but that was funny. Harper did a good job of helping him out there.
Would you ever have thought John Cook would have a TikTok account?
I would. He was so against it at first. He's adjusted so much, but like, yeah, initially he was like, no, whatever. And now he's starting to finally recognize that people, like, we can use TikTok to our advantage, and it helps our program. So I remember I on Volleyball Day in Nebraska, I made a video that got like 5 million views. It was just about the stadium game, and he was like, "Allie, we got 5 million views," and like all this stuff. And then he started liking it, and yeah, I think just now it's blowing up, and Harper's done a good job of helping him out with that. So
it is one of my favorite things when it first started, and we won't talk much about it, but it was like, they were just like, so John, you've got a TikTok. He goes, yeah, I got like 2 million views on something. It's like, oh, John, that's so cute.
He eats it up now. He loves it.
So it's like just such a dad getting into his kids' interests.
Totally.
Fun for us. Okay, so we've talked about your background and your college days. So let's move on to your future, which is bright and shiny and exciting. So you got drafted 15th overall to the Supernovas. Oh, what was that experience like? There's a couple questions in here, and I'm sorry, I hate doing that, but did you kind of know beforehand that it was happening? Was it not very much surprise, but was it kind of a surprise? Like, talk about being drafted and what that whole experience was like.
So it was kind of unpredictable. I remember talking to a bunch of different coaches that had reached out, and there was nothing guaranteed. I had an idea of maybe 3 of the different franchises, I don't know how to word it, but that I would get picked for or that were interested in me. And I had no clue which one I had no clue how I was going to pan out. I had never, obviously, the way they structured the draft this year was a lot different than last year. I think it was a lot more put together this year. So I really had no clue. So I was actually on the phone with another team and they were like, okay, we're going to pick you next. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And then I was sitting in front of the TV and I just put my phone down and then Bird kind of gets up on the thing and I was like, why do I feel like she's going to call my name? I vividly remember like thinking that. And then she said my name and I was freaking out. I was so excited. I genuinely had I knew she was interested, but I didn't like the whole draft process. Everything can change. And there's a lot of moving parts. So it all worked out. My phone was blowing up from my family and obviously my old teammates at Nebraska. And it just all worked out perfectly.
And you get to play with a bunch of your former teammates. Like that is a stacked Nebraska team.
Oh yeah. Lots of Nebraska girls, Creighton girls. We got the whole Nebraska crew here.
How does that feel? I mean, is it an extra homecoming then to get to play with some of those girls again?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're some of my best friends and I carpool with them in the morning to practice all the time. It's like we never left. So it's pretty amazing just to have that bond already.
I think that's one of the really special things about volleyball. And like, as much as I'm gonna hope this comes off right. As much as we want the sport to grow, which we obviously do, there's something really special about it still being kind of in its infancy where the girls are still so tight knit and everybody is so tight knit that like it does still feel like a regional community, I think.
Totally. And I think social media is just great in that way of you can kind of stay connected and stay involved with each other. You know, I'm always commenting on Lexi and all my other teammates' posts and they're doing the same and they're just able to kind of be updated on each other's lives without being necessarily together. And I think just being able to do that also has made it so easy to just be back. And I don't know. You're right. Like it is very tight knit. And I feel like the volleyball world's very small in its own way, but also really big. But it feels small just because you know everyone. So it's cool.
I love that. So you've started practices then.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your first game is in like a week, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it's on the 10th. Mm-hmm.
So how is professional volleyball? How are practices for professional volleyball different than college volleyball so far?
I would say, you know, professionally you're playing like it's a job. So it's obviously there's a standard there and, you know, it's a business. So you got to do what you're going to do. You got to come in and do your thing. But I think college sets you up for that and prepares you for that because that's exactly what's expected of you every day in college as well. I mean, there's a standard in the gym and, it's been a lot of fun. I think a lot of these girls are very experienced and I think it elevates my game as well and just other people's game. And you have all these players coming from different areas and just being able to contribute in different ways and just being able to learn from each other and learn from people that are of different ages and know more and learn new things it's really cool. And I'm just really excited to kind of start soon. It's coming so fast.
Does it feel like you're a freshman all over again?
Yes and no. I mean, I think yes, in the sense that there's a lot to learn about just the little moving parts and what is expected of you and where this goes and where our meetings are and stuff like that. But I think everyone in the gym is very experienced and I guess the roster is based on pure talent and skill. And I think everyone's very experienced. And yes, I feel younger because I think a lot of the girls are older than me. So I'm like, okay, I'm a baby, but I don't feel like a freshman. But yeah.
Okay.
So like a balance, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your goals for this season, for your rookie season?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing for me is I just want to continue to get better and just be the most confident version of myself. And I think I've kind of grown into that. And I want to contribute in any way possible. And ultimately, I just want to win. I want our team to win. And I'm a part of the reigning championship team. So that's really cool. We're actually hanging the banner soon on our first game. I think it's like before the game, but that's really cool to be a part of. And I think I just want to do my best, and whatever role fits, I obviously want to make an impact right away. But yeah, those are my goals.
Those are great goals. I always feel weird asking that question because, well, not weird. There's always so many different ways that people go with that, and you can.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear when it's, well, and there's nothing wrong with it, but like I went to basketball media days and asked, and there were people who said, "Oh, I want to make this team. Like I want to make the all Big Ten defense team, or I want to make this whatever. I want to make this impact." And then there's the ones who are like, "Well, kind of like you said, like, well, I just want to get better." And not have like a specific goal. And so it's always just interesting, the kind of mindset around what does that look like for each person? And
yeah. I mean, I just ultimately, I think the biggest, like, I want to be able to make an impact. I want to play. I want to start. I think those are all kind of everyone's goals at this point. But ultimately make an impact. I don't really, there's no like award specifically that I'm like searching for. I think just ultimately contributing and just winning a championship.
This should always be a goal, right?
Always the goal. Come on.
Yeah. So like Allie said, they're going to hang the championship banner. It looks like season tickets are on sale now for the Omaha Supernova. We'll put the link in. Rob will try to put the link up, or we'll put it in some of the bios and stuff so that you guys can get, those of you who live in Omaha, can get the chance to go see and support the Omaha Supernovas and all our former Huskers, which is great. Is there anything else that you want to talk about in terms of your professional career? Because the last section I have are just like fun questions, just miscellaneous kind of grab bag questions. So I don't want to pass over something if there's something you're really excited to talk about.
No, I think we kind of covered it all. I think we got all the bases, my whole career. So I'll do some fun ones.
Yay. Well, I hope they're fun. Some of these you may have answered before, but they're some of my favorite questions that from some of the social media things. So Allie, what is your biggest volleyball ick?
I have been asked that. Quite a few times. I would say like it kind of varies. Like I feel like, like I don't like black knee pads. Those are kind of icky. And then I also don't like if somebody doesn't go for a ball. Like that just kind of, I don't know if that's an ick, but
yeah, we'll call it an ick.
Yeah.
You mentioned knee pads. I have to ask you because I talked to Emily before the volleyball tournament started. We share an ick, and I think it's just because we're older. Why do you not wear knee pads on your knees? Why do you not wear your knee pads under your knees?
I don't know. I think it just kind of evolved like that. I mean, if it's like right under your kneecap and you bend your knees, it's still kind of like it's still working.
Okay.
Like I don't know how to explain that. I don't know. Like some girls wear them actually on their shins, which I will never understand. But I'm like I'm using my knee pad, like it's working for me. So I don't know.
To be fair, I also grew up when I played volleyball in high school. We had like the big, thick knee pads. So not those real nice ones that don't necessarily look like knee pads. They look like turtle shells. They were so big.
I wish, honestly, sometimes I wish my knee pads were thicker, but
Go back to those ones.
I'll go back to the turtle ones.
What do you think is your biggest non-volleyball lesson that you learned while playing volleyball?
Wow. I would say just biggest lesson. Just always being true to yourself. I think sometimes there's been times where, things aren't going too well, or you start to get out of character, or you just feel like you have to act a certain way. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is I've always played the best and just been the best version of myself when I'm being who I am. And also not being afraid to take risks. I think it's really scary to take risks sometimes, but I don't know, like me transferring to USC, that was a huge risk for me, but I kind of trusted my gut with that one. And I think the biggest risks come with the biggest rewards, and that's something that's also been big for me.
That's great. I love that. What do you think is the most difficult position to play?
I would say setter.
Okay. Why?
I don't know how I honestly, like, when you're hitting, sometimes even if you're having like a bad day, you can just hit and another girl you could tool it on accident. Like there's so many ways out, but setting is so precise and there's so many positions and everyone wants their own set and it's just so challenging. It's a big mental game for sure. So I would say setter for sure. Quarterback of the team.
Where's been your favorite place that you've played so far? So is there a gym that you've really been like, this was a great experience? I mean, we'll take Memorial Stadium out of it because we know that one, but
I actually really like playing in CHI. That's one of my favorites. But goodness, I don't know because there's so many. A lot of them. There used to be like favorites, but now everyone has Terraflex, and that was a huge thing for me. And then just having good fans that are. I think it's fun playing when it's super competitive. Penn State's always fun to play there, but it's hard to play there. But gosh, I don't know. I feel like I played in the two best. Like SC has such a great gym, and so does Nebraska. So
what makes Penn State? What makes Rec Hall hard? Is it the fans? Is it the floor? Is it?
Yeah, the floor. They don't have Terraflex, so that's hard. And then, but that's irrelevant from the hard part. But I would say just the gym itself. It's very echoey and loud, and you kind of feel like everyone's on top of you. And there always is a million fans, especially when I was at Nebraska. And there's always like the men's volleyball team always shows up and they have all these costumes on. They're all just saying brutal things in your face right next to you when you're passing and stuff. So, and then it's all a bunch of college students. And so they're all just on your face and just in your face. So, but yeah, so I think that's probably it. Just very loud.
If professional volleyball hadn't happened, what would you, or, when you're done playing professional volleyball, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Great question. That's a great question. Yeah, so I think in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to pursue beach at some point. I don't know what point that's going to be because I love indoor so much, but that's something I've always thought about. Obviously, like I said, I'm really interested in social media and just kind of capitalizing on that and seeing what I could do with that. I think it's super fun, and there's a lot of little strategies that go into it. So maybe doing that for a company of some sort, or maybe looking into broadcasting, or I don't know if I would coach. I don't know. It just depends. But yeah, I think I really enjoy doing social media or like editing and making videos. That's really fun for me. So something maybe down that avenue. But yeah, I don't know. We're going to kind of just ride it out, see how pro goes, figure it out day by day,
That's the right mentality to have.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. It'll all work itself out. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about volleyball or volleyball players?
I would say sometimes people, I don't know if anymore, because I feel like volleyball's gotten a lot more respect over the years, but sometimes like, especially guys, they're always like, volleyball's easy. Like I could do that. Like I'd be so good. Like you try hitting a ball, your timing is going to be way off. And there's a lot more strategy and little things that go into it than you think. I like playing for years and years, you forget about those little things, but when you're just starting, it's really hard. Like the ball's going fast, especially the better level you get into. So maybe that. I don't know. What's another misconception? Yeah, I'm gonna just go with that.
That's a good one. I play rec league now, and like I'm pretty short. I'm like 5'4" on a really good day. So I'm not like when I go up to hit, nobody's all that afraid of me. But it is one. Oh no, are you still here? Oh no, we've lost Allie. Okay. Well, we'll wait for her to come back and then get to a couple more questions.
Wait, can you see me now?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
I got a phone call. Okay.
Oh gosh, how rude. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
But I was saying, so like kind of on that topic, I'm not an intimidating hitter in my league. We play co-ed, so like nobody's really that scared. But it is one of my favorite things is when you can go up against a guy and they clearly think they're going to do things and you can tool a hit or just get it
Oh,
through
yeah.
their fingertips or something. And it's like, yeah, see, it's not.
Mhm.
And again,
Not
I
that
only played
easy.
in high school, but it's not that easy, is it? Just
Yeah,
imagine if I was a toddler.
we like to humble those men, so
It's so fun. Isn't it?
yeah.
Or just skip right over them because they're not excited.
They jump
Mm.
super high and they just miss it.
Yeah, it's the best. I'm good. Sorry.
I'm
Again, let
just
me get on
kidding.
my soapbox just a touch. Okay. What do you have any hobbies outside of volleyball that you like to do? So we know TikTok and broadcasting, but other than those, what do you do for fun?
Um, well, that volleyball and TikTok and school take up a lot of time. So I don't really have that. I mean, I love hanging out with my friends, but I used to play the piano. And
Really?
I really want to get back into that one of these days when I actually have time.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, my grandma taught me. She's like a professional.
I love that. Can you
Yeah.
do you think if we gave you a keyboard or a piano right now, you could still play something? Is it
Yeah.
muscle memory? Oh,
Yeah, I think I have like 3 songs memorized, like Carol of the Bells
nice.
and like 2 other songs.
That's such a great skill. I wish I had that.
It's so relaxing and just fun. Like yeah, my grandma actually has like a grand piano and like a room for it. So yeah, it used to be really fun.
I can't wait. So we're gonna get some point in the season. They're gonna have you come out and play
Yeah.
the national anthem. That's what it'll be.
Yes, that's what I will do it. I would do it.
We have one question here. Do you have Olympic goals? Is that something you would like to do in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think just these past few years, I've kind of found like a new love for volleyball, and I absolutely want to just be the best I can. And if that becomes an opportunity for me, I definitely want to do that for sure. Maybe, yeah, either indoor or beach or whatever that looks like. I would totally love to.
That's great.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so here's my last question for you, and I think it's a fun one, but it's also kind of a little bit of a deep one to end with. But if you could go back and give young Allie Batenhorst any advice for the future, what would it be?
Hmm. That is a deep one. Uh, uh, well, I feel like this is kind of cliche, but I feel like if you actually mean it and live by it, I feel like just everything happens for a reason and just be in the moment, enjoy the moment, be where your feet are. I really think I spent a lot of time being like, what's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And I think that's something I've also really focused on this past year is just really getting back into my faith and just trusting that there's a plan for everything. And I think really just praying all the time and being grounded and just being faithful and just believing that like God has a plan. I wish I would have been a little bit more lean on his understanding instead of my own. So yeah, I think that was, and just being present and just being in the moment. I think everything just goes by so fast. And um, there's a lot of amazing moments that I had in my career just in high school and winning little things like, I mean, big thing, winning state and just being in high school and having your little friends go to your games and just being a freshman in college and being in the natty and just all these things that just kind of flew by so fast. And now I'm a professional. It's just, um, some days whenever you're not feeling great or you don't want to show up, just trying to remind yourself of those things.
I think that's great advice. Do you
Mhm.
think little Allie would have listened?
Little Allie was a bit stubborn, but no, I mean, I don't know. She would.
No, I think about that like, oh, what would I tell my past self? And it's like all this stuff. And then like, well, she's not going to listen to me anyway. So why am I
Yeah,
telling
no,
her?
why am I talking? She thinks, yeah, now I'm old at this point. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
you know better now.
Yeah.
Well, Allie, I want to thank you again for coming on and doing this interview and letting people get to know you.
Mhm.
It's been a real pleasure for me. Like I said, I loved watching you play. And I'm so happy that when they announced that you were coming back, I was like on Twitter, like, oh, Allie's coming back. She's so I was so excited. So this has really been such a dream for me to get to talk to you and get to know you. And it'll be so fun to continue to watch you play. I hope you have a really successful pro career. I hope you get to play beach volleyball because that does seem like something that you would be so good at and you want to do it. So I want that for you. we typically end these shows with what we call our parting shots, which is just something you want to leave the audience with. And since you are our guest, if you would like to go first, you can. Otherwise, if you're like, nope, give me a second and I'll go first. I'll leave that up to you.
So just like a goodbye message or like just a
Yeah, well, so for example, I'll go so that way you kind of have an example. My parting shot is to continue to support women's sports. The Supernovas first game is the 10th. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my calendar. Friday, January 10th at 7 p.m. If you're in town, go watch. If you're not, it'll be streamed online or on the radio. But that volleyball is not over just because the tournament's over. There's so much volleyball to continue watching and supporting. So that's my parting shot. You can say whatever you want, Allie.
That was good. Yeah, everything Abbie said. And yeah, just continue to get out there, continue supporting women's sports. Not only volleyball, basketball is growing a lot too. And there's female athletes work super hard, and just continue to give them that platform and opportunities they deserve. Just continue to support that. And yeah, express yourself, be yourself all the time. And yeah, go Novas.
I love that. Go Novas. Thanks,
Go
everybody.
Novas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to saying that now that it's a different
me
season.
too. Me too.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you again to Allie for coming on and spending an hour with us. That is another episode of the Go Big Redcast.
A Herd at Sports Network production.
Thanks, Allie.
Of course. Yeah.